Hello everyone, this is Jeannie, also known as Scrapbooking Mama. I had made a butterfly from Vellum that I bought from Paper Temptress, the online store. I'm also a design team member with them. And when I showed it to the owner of the shop and the blog, she asked if I would do a tutorial. And I want to, first of all, make sure that you know that I got my inspiration from Jan Evers on her YouTube channel. And I will try to remember to post a link to her YouTube channel so you can see hers also. But I'm going to do mine just a little bit differently. While the technique's basically the same, I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. And the first thing that you're going to need for this is that you're going to need a butterfly of some kind. I chose this one because of the openings to the wings there, and I believe this is Inca Doodles. And then you're going to need a Versamark or something that will be a sticky ink. And she also used the embossing powder black, but mine's a glitter black embossing powder. And I'm going to also use crystal Zaz instead of the stickles. I'm going to use glossy accents, and let's see, you're going to need scissors and a heat gun. And with the glossy accents, I'm going to use Renee Bouquet's chunky glitter glass, and this one's the diamond. So you're going to need this also. So these are your ingredients. Once again, embossing powder, Zaz crystal, Versamark, glossy accents, the stamp, scissors, and the chunky glass. Now, one more thing that you're going to need is going to be some kind of a color. I'm going to be using my Prismacolors for this tutorial. You can use Copics or whatever color you want to use, but for me, I'm going to be using the Prismacolors. So let's get started. First thing you're going to do is stamp up your ink pad with the Versamark. Oops, hit the camera. Now, I want to make sure this is clean. It looks like I got some fuzzes in it, so I want to make sure this is cleaned off, because that will affect your stamp. You can tell I've used this a lot. Okay, now that's cleaned off. I always use baby wipes, but I always use baby wipes afterwards too, but for some reason I must have forgot to clean it the last time I used it, so not a good thing. Okay, so go ahead and just ink up your butterfly. Sometimes I do it this way. Sometimes I turn it over and do it this way. That way I can see it. I want to get a good ink on it. It may seem like I'm doing a lot, but I'm always wanting to make sure that I get enough on there. So, okay. Make sure you close the lid on your Versamark, otherwise it'll dry out. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and stamp it. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. And you can see I've got a stamp pad assist in here. It helps keep your ink level and not be so spotty. One of the best tools I have ever bought is this pad right here. I got it through Scrapbooking with Me Boutique on Facebook. Okay, now it looks like I got a good ink to it. Clean it off. Let's set that aside now. You can see I have a butterfly there. Now, I'm going to move this stamp pad assistant aside and put my paper on it so I can go ahead and do embossing on it. And so I always give it a good generous powder on it. And sometimes I still mess it up because I don't sprinkle it all over like I need to. So be very careful, you know, it's important. Now, if you're going to stamp this image on a piece of vellum and use this vellum in the whole piece on a project rather than cutting it out, you might want to get your powdered bag and pound around your area that you're going to stamp, because that way when you put the embossing powder on, it's not going to, the embossing powder is not going to stick to your paper like you see here. It's stuck there, but that's okay because we're going to cut it out. So let me get rid of that. Always put the lid on your powder, because I am one of those that if I'm not careful, I'm going to make a mess and spill it. That's been known to happen before. Now it looks like I got it stamped pretty good, so now the next thing we're going to do is heat it up, and so that way the powder can bond with the stickiness of the Versamark. Okay, now it looks pretty good, except for some reason I didn't get it inked up right here very good. Right there, but there's a trick we can do. Let me show you. I have a Versamark pen. Now, it may not bother some to leave it like it is, but for me, I want it to be a little bit more even, so I'm going to use the fine tip of my Versamark pen, and I'm going to go ahead and put some of this inside right here, and then I'm going to take a little bit more powder and sprinkle it on, just like I did before. Okay, let's see how that does now. So I'm going to put the cap back on. Okay, now it's fully covered, which is the way I want it to be to begin with. I could have left it, but I'd rather be as even as possible on it as I can. Okay, now once this is cooled off, you want to make sure it's cooled off first before you do anything else. And I'm going to put my black pad back here so you can see better. I'm going to cool it off a little bit. And it feels like it's good and cooled off. Now the next thing you're going to do is go ahead and color. And you're going to pick at least 2 colors. Well, anyway I am. You can do it a solid color if you want to. But I'm going to do 2 different colors. And I'm going to do like a yellow ochre and a light blue color. So the next step then is going to be to color either the front side or the back side. If you want it dark, then you need to color on the front. If you want it lighter, then you color on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going so we can get on with the show here. Okay, now I've done all my coloring. I did some on the back. You might not be able to see that there is a light, very light blue in here, which is okay with me. It's almost white, but that's all right. Now, before I put my Zaz crystal on, excuse me, I'm going to work on the inside of my butterfly, and I'm going to be using my glass glitter. So my first step is to decide where I want to put everything. So I'm going to put some glass glitter on the blue. On the top wing and on the bottom wings. Okay, and I will make sure I got it pretty well even in it. I always do, if I don't want glitter somewhere, I always do, and still want to use the gloss. I use do it with the glitter first on those areas, and then I do it without the glitter on the other areas if I want to use my glossy accents. That way I don't get it all over the crystals where I don't want them. So I'm just going to sprinkle these on a little bit. I don't want to overdo it. I do want to make sure they're on there though. Sometimes it's hard to make sure you get it on there because it's such a fine piece of glass. Okay, now I'm going to knock the excess off into the trash can here. Again, I always cover or close it back up because I don't want to spill it. I've been known to do that. Okay, now I got my gloss where I want it with the crystals, or the glitter glass actually. And now I want to go ahead and use my Zazz here. Let's see. I'm going to put a little bit on his body. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overload him. I just want a little bit of a shine there. Okay, now I've got her all colored. Basically, she's done except for letting her dry and cutting her out. I want to make sure I got all the spots covered that I want covered. You don't have to do it this much. You can, do a little bit if you want to. It's all your preference and how you want to do it. Let's see, I think I see them. Okay, and at the end I will go ahead and show you a finished picture of her when she's dry. I will cut her out after she's dry, of course, and I will show you the picture. Have a great day, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.